There were 3 of them, Sarah, Ali, and Nima. Laughing and joking, they arrived at an old cabin deep in the forest at midnight. The rotten wooden door creaked open, as if something inside was eager to let them in. The air was heavy, filled with the stench of dampness and something that smelled disturbingly like dried blood. After midnight, the oil lamp on the table flickered with every faint breeze. Sarah swore she heard someone breathing in the dark corner. Nima laughed, until he noticed fresh streaks of blood dripping slowly down the wall. Ali, braver than the rest, pulled open the door to the basement. The stairs descended into pitch blackness. As he stepped down, whispers began, angry, guttural, and impossible to understand. The last thing he saw were lidless eyes staring back at him from the dark, and a skeletal hand closing around his neck. The snap of his spine echoed through the cabin. Nima screamed and rushed to help, but it was too late. Something moved in the shadows, lunging at him with claws of ice. They tore into his chest and he fell, eyes wide open, yet utterly lifeless. Sarah was alone now. Her heart pounded violently. She backed away until she hit the wall. Then she felt it, the freezing touch brushing the back of her neck. A voice, coming from 1,000 throats at once, hissed in her ear. "Now it's your turn." Sarah opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came. Her body stiffened, her eyes turned dark and empty. Moments later, she stood perfectly still, a twisted smile on her face, just like the cursed spirit that had claimed her. Since that night, if anyone passes by the cabin, they may glimpse the shadow of a girl staring from the window. And if you dare step closer, you might hear the whisper in your ear. "You are the next curse." The room that never stays empty. In a small town, there was an old inn. Everyone feared room number 6. The innkeeper always kept it locked, but every midnight its light would turn on by itself. One night, a weary traveler arrived. All the rooms were full, except for that one. He insisted on taking it. The innkeeper only warned him. If you hear knocking at midnight, don't open the door. Subscribe to our channel to hear more stories. The traveler laughed and entered. The room was simple, but a large mirror stood across from the bed. He turned off the lamp and went asleep. At 3 in the morning, a soft sound echoed. Knock, knock, knock. He woke up. Someone was at the door. He remembered the warning and ignored it. But the knocking continued. Knock, knock, knock. Then, a raspy whisper came from behind the door. "I'm right here. Why won't you let me in?" Terrified, he looked at the mirror. In it, he saw himself, standing at the door, smiling coldly. He rushed toward the mirror, but the reflection reached out, grabbed his hand, and pulled him inside. The last thing he saw was the empty bed behind him. The next morning, room 6 was empty again. But in the mirror, the traveler still stood, his eyes wide open, frozen forever. A boy named Arya was returning home late at night from an after-school class. His bus was delayed, and he had no choice but to take a shortcut through an old, half-abandoned shopping mall. The ceiling lights flickered dimly, and a muffled sound like chains dragging echoed through the corridors. The farther he went, the more the empty shop windows seemed alive. Mannequins shifted, their eyes glinting. A child's laughter echoed from the upper floor, though he was certain no one else was there. His heart pounded, yet curiosity pushed him onward. At one corner of the hallway, a shadowy creature with long arms and bony fingers emerged from the darkness. It only tilted its head, staring silently. Suddenly, dozens more shadows appeared behind it, each with hollow, glowing white eyes. Terrified, Arya ran, but every door he opened led him back to the same hallway. It was as if the mall had no end. The shadows drew closer, their footsteps echoing across the floor. When the final light went out, all that remained were Arya's ragged breaths, and the cold hands of the creatures gripping him from every side. His short scream was swallowed by the mall's emptiness, and from that night on, passers-by say they sometimes hear the footsteps of a child running through the mall's darkness, but they never find anyone there. Be sure to subscribe to support us. One stormy night, Zara, a young nurse, was walking home through the forest. On her way, she noticed an abandoned house no one had dared to approach for years. A faint cry came from inside. With trembling steps, she entered, and in the darkness of a corner, she found a baby, all alone. There was no trace of its parents. Zara took the baby back to the village and raised him, never revealing his true origins. 20 years passed. On another stormy night, a violent tempest swept over the village. Villagers began to vanish one by one. Only the echoes of screams and the crunching of bones could be heard in the wind. The oldest man in the village shuddered and whispered, "She has returned, the mother of the child. A djinn who once left her baby behind in this world. Now she's come to take it back." The young man, the baby from long ago, felt his eyes burning red. In their reflection appeared the image of a wild-haired woman with a mouth full of jagged teeth. His mother, the djinn, had crossed back from her realm. To reclaim her child, the djinn devoured every villager. None could escape. Those who hid in their houses had their doors torn down. Those who fled into the forest were lost in the howling wind. By morning, only one house remained standing, the abandoned house. And in its window stood the shadow of a woman, holding a baby in her arms. A baby found 20 years ago, now no longer human. Be sure to subscribe to support us. In the heart of a forest where even time refused to enter, there was a village erased from every map. The people lived by one ancient rule. Every winter, when the night was at its darkest, a newborn child had to be left at the gate. The mothers placed their bobbies down with trembling hands, and soon the sound would come heavy, ragged breathing, like something ancient dragging air through rotten lungs. Then silence. The child was gone. For years, the sacrifice kept the village alive, until one winter a family broke the rule. They hid their baby. That night, the fog grew so thick it drowned the moon. The earth trembled with every breath. From the trees, a shadow unfolded, stretching taller than the rooftops, swallowing the village in its darkness. Two burning eyes opened, and a voice deep, hollow, endless began to count. 1, 2. With every number, walls cracked, lamps burst, and prayers turned to screams. The creature opened its jaws wider than the sky, and in a single, endless breath, the entire village, flesh, bone, memory, was swallowed. When morning came, nothing remained, only a pit black and breathing. They say if you stand there at night, you will hear the faint cries of children still trapped inside its belly. And worse, the counting never stopped. Because once, it only counted children. But now, it counts everything. And tonight, it may be counting you. Be sure to subscribe to support us.